right. No. All right. We are back. Today is Friday, and it's a beautiful day. And I'm your host, Kelly Bowman, and this is What Your Bartender Really Thinks. I'm excited today because our guest, Emily O'Lear, she is a coworker of mine, and she is also a manager. So I'm really excited about this managerial perspective she'll have for us today. In terms of that, Emily, how are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. So why don't we just get right into it then? Tell me about how long you've been in the industry and why you kind of decided to get into the industry.
I've been in the industry for just about 2 years now, a little over 2 years, like 2.5. And the reason why I got into industry was just because I was looking for money. So it was the first year that I had lived off campus, and I needed a job during the summer when school wasn't in session. So I started applying, and I had started doing home brewing that during the pandemic, something to kind of waste the time away. And
chocolate peanut butter beer, apparently.
I made some weird beers, but that one was not good. Chocolate Mexican cerveza was my favorite. But yeah, so I was into beer, really into beer, got into it in all my free time during the pandemic. So when I was looking for jobs, the first thing I did was apply to breweries, and Spencer Devon Brewing downtown was the first one that reached out to me. So I interviewed, and I got the position there and just kind of rolled with it. I was more of a server there, or beer tender, as they say. Didn't really make a lot of cocktails. Made a couple, because we did have liquor, but usually was just pouring beer, running food, talking to guests, and then I actually closed the place down. So Spencer Devon closed in May of last year, more of an ownership issue. And so after they closed, I was looking for another job, and one of my coworkers had started working at Rebellion. So I kind of followed her there because I didn't know where else to go, and they were desperate. Literally, during my interview, they didn't ask me any questions. I gave them my application. They looked up and down and just said, "When are you available?" And I was like, okay, that was the easiest interview I've ever done. But according to I'm also one of the best hires, so.
Aw.
Oh, thanks. But yeah, so I started at a Rebellion as a bartender, and then slowly, after like 3 or 4 months, maybe 5 of working there, I got promoted to manager, and now I am the bar manager. So it's basically kind of like assistant GM / bar manager. But
the bar manager, people. Super cool.
Sure, cool.
Yeah, no, it is. It's really cool.
Thank you.
Cool, yeah. So, what is the best experience you've had as a server bartender, or in the industry in general? We're kind of jumping around, but.
Yeah, so when I think of good experiences, I don't really think of customers, not to give them a hard time or shit on them in any way. I do love customers. I've had plenty of good,
no, we shit on customers here. We shit on customers here.
But, I've had plenty of good interactions and plenty of good moments and memories with some customers, but I feel like the people that I work with are definitely the ones that stand out the most. I don't know, I've worked at other jobs that aren't in the service industry, and I feel like you just get a very different bond with the people that you work with in the service industry. There's just something about dealing with busy nights and shitty people and getting stressed together. There's a lot of drama, but sometimes it's a lot of fun. And I don't know, just the bonds you make with those people in the industry are different than anywhere else. And I don't know, they're great people. They'll do anything for you. A lot of them will stand up for you. They'll cover your shift if you need to. They'll fucking hop through loops just to get shit done for you. It's really cool. Yeah.
You wanted to tell a story earlier about how awesome your coworkers are.
Yes, including you, don't worry. Yeah, I was completely unexpected, a huge surprise. I had no idea this was happening. I had a few of my coworkers chip in and buy me an engraved bottle of Woodford for my birthday. It was super sweet. It came with this little note, and the only thing that's bad about it is I can never drink the bourbon, because there's no way I'm opening that bottle, but it is super cute. It's going to be with me forever. Really sweet gift, and they all made their little group chat and arranged it. It's one of the nicest things anyone's ever done for me. Aww. I feel like, I don't know, I love them. Love you.
Aw, love you too. So yeah, obviously you could see that people in the industry, and Emily and I got very lucky because I feel like where we work right now houses some of the best people, like just in terms of working with, like I absolutely love everyone that we work with. There's like one or two that I'm like iffy about, but like
these newbies and
yeah. So but like the place that we're working at right now, definitely I have never enjoyed working with people more.
I agree to an extent, but also I came from Spencer Devon and I had an amazing relationship with people there too. So it's funny to me because I hear these horror stories from you guys and people that have worked in the industry longer and been in different places, but I've only been in two, and both of them I just had these super close bonds with everyone I worked with.
You're so lucky.
I had a bunch of people from Spencer Devon start working that Rebellion too, so I followed him, and then it was sorry.
I'll bleep it out. I'm going to bleep out names. It's going to be really funny. We're going to have to bleep out a lot in this episode. I think it's going to be funny, though.
But no, I followed somebody, and then somebody else followed me. And then there was one other person, too. We had a dishwasher two dishwashers from Spencer Devon came there, too. And we had a couple, I think there was somebody in the kitchen, too. I don't know. It was just a handful of Spencer Devon people in Little Brook, and it was, like, the cool place to go afterwards.
I love that.
Because I'm there, mainly. I'm kidding.
No. It's definitely because you're there. So, oh man, what was I going to say? I was going to talk about something.
I don't know. What were you going to talk about? That's the saddest cricket noise. It doesn't even sound like crickets. I'm sorry. That's even funnier that it's supposed to be awkward because it's like the sound itself is just awkward. It's just not really crickets.
And I forget to keep turning it up, so it's like coming in and it's like, oh my God. Okay, I actually do remember what I was going to talk about. You were saying that everyone else has pretty bad experiences from other workplaces, and I would just like to highlight one real quick for myself. So in the summer of like 2020, I was living in New Hampshire with some family friends, and I worked at this place. It was like a Red Lobster, but like New England, like a New England Red Lobster is the best way I can describe the place that I worked at without naming it. And these were some of the worst people I've ever worked with, because it wasn't like the other places that I've worked at that like these were like downtown like restaurants, like, and so like it was a little bit different than like the shopping center Red Lobster in the middle of New Hampshire. I don't even know. It was, and so like some of the coworkers were nice, but then like most of them were just like assholes and like bitches and like gave me like really hard times like when I first started there for like no reason, because they all had like this
kind of thing.
Exactly, pre-established cliques, and it was really weird. And also, not to like dog on industry workers, because like I said earlier, we shit on customers here, but when you are a 40 to 50-year-old woman and you are making the host cry, you have to reevaluate how you're treating people and your coworkers.
Reevaluate your life at that point. Like, oh, geez. Yeah. Like, I don't know. I don't get that. I feel like maybe that's why we get along so well, because none of us are older.
Yeah, that could be true. Yeah,
all of our not like that old. Well, that sounds mean. That sounds like I'm shitting on old people. Old people are great.
No, yeah, old people are fine. Just like don't make people cry, I guess.
I have no issue with somebody who's content working in the service industry their entire life. But if you are to that point where you were just like, I'm all high and mighty, and if you're not doing it this way, then I'm going to make you feel like shit. Like, that's just not fair.
No, not at all. And it's definitely not conducive to like a healthy work environment. Like that was the most toxic work environment I have ever worked at. Like, which is, you know, like, damn, like that. Yeah, I mean, even
like, when you think of service industry, you think of toxic. But like, you know, if you've been into, I don't know, that was a bad joke. Sorry.
Just said the applause.
No.
Geez. So yeah. Anyway, moving on from shitting on our coworkers. So, what is the worst experience you've had? And we can go from coworkers to customers to managers or whatever.
See, I don't have a lot of bad coworker experiences. Sorry. I definitely have had some. But most of the time I've had a bad experience, it's been just because of petty stuff. Not on my part always, but I feel like some people come in and it's the petty mindset and you can't really change the way that they're going to be. But customers, it's funny. I'm like, good experiences. I think of my coworkers. Bad experiences. I think of customers. So I definitely have had a couple. Nothing. too crazy. I've heard some wild stories from other people, but I think the worst one was actually pretty recent. I think it was about 2 months ago now. And I was bartending on a Thursday night, and they had this group of guys at the bar, and they had been there for hours, and most of them were okay, definitely pretty drunk, but this one guy was like very clearly drunk. So I was hoping they were going to cash out soon, but they didn't, and I was getting to the point where I was like, I need to cut this guy off. And this friend ordered a round for everybody, and then I told his friend, I said, hey, like, you and the other people that you're with, they seem okay. Like, I'm going to pour you a drink. And I was like, but your other friend, I was like, I'm going to let him drink some water. I'm going to let him eat some of the fries that he ordered for a little bit. And then I'm going to pour him his drink. And his friend was like, so you're cutting him off? I said, I'm not cutting him off per se. I said, I'm just trying to wait a little bit before I give him another drink because he seems a little too drunk for me to serve him right now. And keep in mind, people that aren't in the service industry, as a bartender, it's illegal to overserve somebody.
Literally illegal.
Literally, if
your restaurant could lose their liquor license.
Yeah, and you could lose your potential to ever be allowed to pour another drink.
I didn't know that. That's crazy.
So not only is it like on the restaurant, it's coming down on the individual. Like you would literally not be able to bartend anymore if they caught you over serving. So when you make these calls, it sucks because most of the time, especially if it's guys, sorry, they do not react well being cut off. People do not like it when you cut them off, and it does not help that they're intoxicated because clearly they are if you're cutting them off. But when they are, most people, not all, but most people that I've cut off have reacted really badly to it. And those are some of like my horror stories I feel like are me as a bartender, in my best judgment, trying not to lose my job, cutting people off. So, and this guy, he was so drunk too, he didn't even realize that his friends had got another round until like 5 minutes later. And then he saw that his friends were drinking, and his other friend went to him and it was like, well, yeah, sorry, you don't have one, dude, you got cut off. And I was like,
are you?
Yeah.
Where were they at? Where were they sitting?
They were sitting like right. There was like 5 of them, so they were just right in the middle of the bar.
Oh, they were at the bar. Okay.
They were at the bar, and it was frustrating too because I kind of tried to tell his friend, I was like, I'm not cutting him off. I'm gonna get him a drink in a little bit. I just need to wait a second for him because that dude was the most drunk out of all of them, and. Clearly he was drunk because he instantly made a scene once his friend used the word cut off, and he talked to me and probably talked for like, I want to say it was close to 20 minutes because he was so mad at me. And at that point I was like considering getting him another drink, but then after that I was like, yeah, dude, you're not getting another drink. Like, and he was just going off and he was like, I come here every once in a while, and he's like, and I spend a lot of money to sit at the bar, and I want to treat my employees because I guess they're all like, I don't know, they seem like work business partners, kind of weird thing. And he was going off about how he's like, I don't think that is fair when I'm over here taking this bill that you think that you have the right to cut me off. He's like, do you see how much money I'm paying? It's like, and yes, he had a high bill, but also it's one of those things where literally, like I said, it's illegal for me to overserve. I can't do that. And he would not stop talking and going off at me, and I was trying to be patient with him. And I was actually surprised that he tipped, but I gave all of the money that he tipped to my coworker because I was so mad I didn't want to take a cent of this guy's money.
Yeah.
Literally split it up at the end of the night and was like, that's yours because of that tip tab. I'm not taking a single dollar. Funny story is, I learned later because my friends ran into one of the guys that was like tagging along with them going out that night, and they ran into him at Jay Bryan's later, but the whole group left angrily at Rebellion and went to Spirits, and they couldn't even make it into Spirits.
Which, if you're not familiar with downtown bars in Fredericksburg, if you can't get into Spirits, then you are capital fucked up, son.
Spirits
like,
does
oh my
not care
God.
that much about it. I've seen Spirits overserve people when they're in there. It takes a really drunk person to not make it up those stairs in the Spirits. So it was just also nice that I found out about that because I was like, okay, that validates the fact that I wasn't wrong with cutting this guy off, because I had a whole thing where I was like questioning myself and my bartender abilities because of the way he talked to me and treated me. I was like wondering. I was like sitting there. I was like, maybe I'm the asshole here, but no, I wasn't. He was too drunk and I was being safe, and I stand by that today. Yeah. And then they tried to come back, by the way, as well. And then
I knew that.
They were like stood outside of the restaurant and were like looking in, like they were definitely contemplating coming back in. And then like I think they realized that they definitely shouldn't, because if they did, I would not have gotten them another drink. But so
giving them all waters.
But yeah, I wouldn't kick them out, but they could drink some water. I'm like, don't fuck with your bartender. If you're an asshole to your bartender, you're not gonna get good service. That's how bartenders are.
Yeah.
It's not as sassy as other places, but I wish I could be sassier there, because as soon as someone's an asshole to me, that's all I want to do. And that's what I think is low-key okay for bartenders to do in comparison to servers.
Yes. They're definitely very different
anyways,
positions
be
in
nice
that way.
Be nice to your industry workers.
Oh, yeah.
And
That's
if
what this
someone's cutting you
podcast
off,
is all
don't
about.
fucking he made me cry. He did. He was such an asshole, dude. I literally, after the whole conversation, I had to go to the back and just sit there for like 10 minutes because I was just like, I don't even want to go into details of how he talked to me. It was just so fucking rude.
The moment you decide to make your bartender, server, what have you, cry, you really just need to like reevaluate your whole life. And and that too, like when you have customers like that, when you said it makes you like rethink your entire like how you serve and like how you blah 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 whatever, like that sucks. Like and it ruins like I still think about like bad experiences with customers like years later.
For sure, I'm gonna remember this. Like literally, sorry. One of my coworkers from Spencer Devon has this story. I feel like I'll try to tell it to the best of my ability because it's crazy. And I've heard her say it multiple times, and it's like her highlight bad experience. And this is something that happened years ago, and she remembers it to the T, like the details on the story to prove your point. But she was working one night, and it was really busy, and the bar was like 2-3 deep at Spencer Devon, and this guy apparently had ordered a drink with the other bartender that she was working with, but she hadn't gotten to it yet. So Lindsay came by and she was like, "What can I get you?" And he was like, "I ordered a drink from that other bitch, but clearly she's too busy to go and get it." And stayed calm, and she was like, obviously already upset that he had the audacity to call her other coworker a bitch. And she was like, "All right, well, she's busy right now. You know, we're really busy. There's only 2 of us. How about I get you something?" kind of thing. And he was like, "Fine." And they like ordered from her, and like while she was dropping off the beer, she was like, she basically said, "I just want you to know it's not okay to call us that." And she like kind of went off but didn't, but was basically like, "Yeah, you better not call us or use that word or treat us like that again," kind of thing. And then she was like, "Well, do you want to pay for this beer?" And he just looked at her, threw a wad of cash and coins and threw it at her.
Threw it. Okay, so like physical assault.
What kind of?
I mean, like coins hurt, dude.
And the cash for the beer, and he just threw it at her because he was so mad that he wasn't served right away, and that he had the courage to speak up for this guy and basically be like, "You can't talk to us and treat us like that or say those words about us," and just took it. And then he tried to order another beer later, and then they cut him off. They were like, "Yeah, you're not getting any more service for us," as one should.
Yeah.
But I just don't understand how somebody has so much like anger in them to treat this random person.
Someone that you have literally never fucking met.
Yeah, like it takes a very special breed of person to treat a service worker like that. Like I don't understand how anyone has that right mind to do that, but no. It's also funny because every time you serve people at restaurants, I feel like majority of the time you can tell if they worked in the service industry in any way. And it's so easy to tell the difference between someone who is, even if they've only done it for fucking like 2 months, you can usually tell.
That's how long it takes to
that's how long it takes
something
to understand
like that,
and respect the people more. And yeah, trust me, that guy that yelled at me about me cutting him off, he definitely had not stepped foot behind a bar or in a restaurant as an employee before, for sure. It's so obvious. I don't know. I actually do have had some bad experiences with people that told me they're bartenders, so I guess I can't say that per se.
Oh my God.
But it's usually people who like, "Well, I bartended in my 20s and I'm out of it now." And it's like, okay, well then you should still know. And like, let's not like, it's guys too. Maybe it's just where we work, but I swear there's just something about the guys. They go off so much easier. I've had a couple women go off, but guys are just so sensitive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, yeah, talking about anger like that, I had an experience at the place we work at now. And he, I think you probably have heard this story. I'm not going to tell the whole thing, but he basically like called me pathetic for not filling his water glass.
That's so sad.
Oh my God, it was really sad. And he also made me cry. He was just bitching at me. I'm like, "Okay, do you want to talk to a manager?" And I was like pissed in that moment, and I was like kind of sassy about it. When I the minute I turned around, they were sitting outside. The minute I turned around and walked back inside through the doors, I started crying.
Yeah.
Literally, like, you can't, like, there's no words for it really. And I ended up like being like interested in like, oh, is there a reason why people go out and like treat industry people like shit? Like, what's the reason for that? And like a lot of it was like people have these weird like power dynamics between like them and like their servers and bartenders, and like that they will take it as that opportunity to just treat them like shit.
I always feel like a lot of it is that everything else in their life might not be going the way that they want it to, and not necessarily meaning it that all that stuff is their fault. But yeah, I think it's like a power thing. It's like nothing's, it's a little bit of both, a little bit of, I've always been Mr. High and Mighty or Mrs. High and Mighty, so I don't care about you, or something like, well, probably like relationship issues and you don't know what to do, you take it out on a fucking bartender or server, which is not fair.
No.
We're humans. We are literally just like you.
Yeah.
And it's so weird how so many people have these different ideas that we are not like that. And that's just, it's like stuff like that. And like people who are sassy and rude and that think that they have the right to be able to call you pathetic. Like that's the other thing. Like, and it's not just, don't get me wrong, it's not even just restaurants. Like I'm talking like just the way people treat anybody in customer service, whether it's like the annoying phone calls that you have to deal with or cashiers, like anything. It's just so weird.
Yeah. People like all of a sudden like get super a big fat hard on for being I don't even know where I'm going with that. Being like on top of someone, I guess, like that power stuff. That So man, yeah, that pisses me off. That guy was also in the service industry. Like I had worked with him. I literally had worked with him, but we were still wearing masks, so I don't think he recognized me.
That surprises me. That's so sad. It's so sad.
It was sad. And yeah, I can't remember what ended up happening to them. I think they like paid for what they had gotten so far and just left. And it was comped, of course, obviously.
Why? Because you didn't feel it was water glass?
Yeah. Our GM was working with me that night, and she went out and was like, okay, like, this is what happened, and he's pissed. And I was like, okay. And she was like, I'm going to comp their stuff. And I was like, okay. And then they didn't tip, obviously. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So he works in the service industry.
Yeah, I worked with him.
He called you pathetic, and then he didn't tip you.
Yep.
But he knows how much you make then, an hour. Well, he knows that. That's so stupid. That makes me so mad. That makes me more mad than guys being assholes like that aren't in the service industry. And anyways, sorry. I could go off.
Okay. What kind of things do you think could be done to improve the industry, in your opinion?
I don't know. I think it's not really the industry, I think, in itself. Well, at least what we were talking about specifically. I think it's more people. And I don't think you can necessarily always change people, unfortunately. Yeah. I think just more people need to fucking take a sociology class or take some kind of like,
or
how
work.
to be nice to humans, or work at it, yeah.
Or work, yeah.
The biggest thing that I think could change is that, like, I also feel like we shouldn't make $2.13 an hour. I feel like that is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I know that, like, because basically what restaurants are doing is, like, they're getting these people, these servers and these bartenders, to work for them for free, essentially. Mm-hmm. Because they, that they'll get tipped.
But that doesn't always happen, obviously.
Obviously.
Yeah.
And these people are the faces of the restaurant. Like, even more so than the managers most of the time, because not every single table is going to see my face when I'm there. And not even if I talk to a table while I'm floor managing, I'm not the main one that's talked to them the entire night, Right. Those servers, those bartenders, the host, all of those people, they are the faces of the restaurant, and there's a lot of pressure from certain restaurants to act a certain way while you're doing your job, to be a certain way, to be friendly enough, to be chatty enough. Like, there's so much that they throw at you and these high expectations they want you to do just for $2.13 an hour. It's like, all right, if you want me, like, it's that's what I think is crazy. And I know that isn't as strict about it, but I've seen stories or heard stories of other places that are like, we'll get mad at you if you don't push the specials enough, these little things. Like, well, yeah, I'll ask you to push the specials, but they won't slap you in the face if you don't. But I know some places are super hard on that shit. And it's just funny to me. It's like, why do you think as a restaurant owner that you can put all this shit down on your employees that you're not even paying, technically? Like, you already aren't. Like,
Right.
And it just, I don't know.
Lots of different things.
Yeah. And it's weird.
Unfortunately. And we're kind of going to start wrapping up here, but for a last kind of send-off question, what kind of advice would you give people who are thinking about starting in the restaurant industry, that high school senior who's about to graduate, who wants to make some money for the summer, the just laid off, I don't know, 20-something-year-old who needs a quick job, what would you say to them?
I guess the first thing I would say is kind of like you were saying, I think it's good for you to work in a service industry at any point in your life. So even if you haven't been thinking about it or you're trying to make a couple extra bucks, like do it for a year or something. Yeah. I think it's a very good learning experience, and I think it teaches you a lot. And the other thing I would say is just know that it's unpredictable. You never know what you're going to go into. So if you do work, be ready to not know what's going to happen that night. Some nights are easy piece of cake. Some nights you'll get 5 people that call you pathetic. You know, you never know. So it's just you definitely develop thick skin.
Yes.
So be ready for that. If you don't already have thick skin, get ready to get shut down a little bit. But I recommend. This sounds very negative when I say it like that, but trust me, you do learn a lot. Something that is very different than any other job, like I mentioned earlier. So I always recommend people give it a shot for a little bit.
Yeah.
And just go for it. Just do it.
Yeah, I agree. And I also used to say that everyone should work in the industry at some point. But then I started thinking people should just, like, the reason why we say that is because we want them to treat us better. Mm-hmm. They should just treat us better. So I stopped saying that because I'm like,
well, I feel like it's not just that, though. I feel like there's also, like, I don't know, if I never started bartending and serving, I think I would be a completely different person than I am today. I definitely think it helps, like, and not in a good way, not in a bad way.
Right.
I mean, obviously there's some experiences that I wish I could not remember, but at the same note, I think it helps you really learn how to deal with people, and I think dealing with people is important in any job you end up getting.
Yeah.
And there's just, I don't know. And it's not just about treating people better when you go out, though why you should work good. I feel like there's a lot of different ways. A lot of different things, that, I don't know.
Fair enough. I think that's true.
Especially the thick skin part in the dealing with people.
Yeah. Yes, I agree. Well, I really appreciate you doing this with me.
Course. Sorry I didn't really talk about a whole lot of manager stuff, but
no, it's okay.
All of my exciting stories aren't really manager related. Those are kind of boring, except that, I don't know. Okay. Not boring. Not always boring, but well, okay.
Just kidding. I
do not like emails.
Well, that's all we have for you today, guys. Thanks for listening, and thanks for, listening. All right. We will see you on the next episode. We're going to be interviewing Ashley LeBear, and I am very excited. This is kind of
I might just come and join. I won't even have to say anything. I'll just sit there with the headphones on and listen, because I want to hear Ashley's stories.
Ashley, and we'll get into it a little bit the next episode, but Ashley has been bartending not bartending, but she's been in the industry since she was like 14, and she also worked in Florida. So.
Yeah, very different bars that you get up here.
Oh my God, I'm so excited, and you guys should be too. All right, that's it. Thanks for listening, and enjoy the rest of your day.